Good afternoon, everybody. So it is February the 22nd, and today I'm going to talk about FOMC and what a day we had today in our Discord. One of my pals, he took 27 handles in one trade. I bottom ticked and top ticked the range on taking entries off order blocks. So today, what I want to talk about is how I traded it, and I'm not going to talk about the pre-market because the video would be too long. So what I'm going to talk about today is my 3 drives pattern, which I have created and backtested for months using ICT concepts, right? And I'm pretty sure I coined this this model, so I'm putting it out there, right, before other people start to claim it. But I'm pretty sure this is something which I've uncovered, right? And I trade it on all time frames. I trade it on the lower time frames, and I also trade it on the higher time frames, right? And today was an absolute beast, and it happened to fall on FOMC. So let me break it down. But before I do, if you're new to the channel, welcome. And if you like this video, do please consider smashing the like and subscribe. It does the channel a world of good. And it also helps other traders like yourself view this content, right? So without further ado, let's jump into this 3 drives pattern, right? So what I look for is when we are at a PD array on a higher time frame where we're expecting price to reverse, okay? So what we had down here is we had the new weekly opening gap, which was formed down here, which is this, which was at 390.87. However, as soon as I saw this 3 drives pattern form, I knew exactly what I was looking for, right? So what the 3 drives pattern is, it's when price is driving down like this, it's hiding an order block, right? It's hiding an order block, and the middle drive is an order block. Doesn't matter how many candles it is, that middle drive is an order block. And what I look for is an entry off the lowest order block with inside the second drive, okay? And once price expands away after the 3rd drive, this is where I'm entering from. This is where I'm looking for price to retrace into. And you can see it retraced into medium threshold of that order block, right? So price moved away, and then what we're looking for are order blocks to form, right? And these order blocks are what price will expand off of, but very often retrace back into for price to then move higher, okay? So what we have here is we have drive 1, drive 2, hidden order block. Price moves away, moves up to the top. I'll break through all of this price action up here in a minute, so I took a trade short at the top as well. Price moves back down, forms a rejection block down here, but we're not focusing on that. Price moves away, entry off this order block, this bullish order block on the hidden one, this hidden order block here, right? Price aggressively moves away, and you're anticipating price to retrace into that order block. If price is still bullish, it will continue to move higher, right? So you're looking for entries off of this, or waiting for price to rebound. So let's drop down onto a lower time frame. Let's drop down onto the 5 minute for a minute. And this is what I was watching during FOMC, right? So I called this out live in my Discord. And if you guys are not in our Discord, please feel free to join. Entry is still currently open, and it is currently free. So you're more than welcome to join. The link is in my bio. So if you join, come and say hi. You're welcome to join in our live trade. So you can see it down here on the 5 minutes. We have the drive 1, drive 2. You can see that hidden order block is within inside this. Drive 3. This is the order block running across, right? And by the way, I started this on the 15 minute, by the way. On lower time frames, you'll see it on lower time frames, but you don't always need to use the 15 minute. But this instance is it formed on the 15 minute, right? So if we drop down to the 5 minute, that's that order block running across. So what I called out live in Discord is I said I'm going to take a bounce off of this order block, right? And that's that order block on the 15 min, right? So it's this order block here. I'm so confident in this setup. I can't tell you how many times I've backtested it, right? And so price was hovering around up here and moved down, and what did it hit to a T? It literally hit that to a tick, and it was 404, and price then rallied, okay? What was price running to? It was running back to this breaker block, and I will break down this breaker block in a minute, so bear with me. Price then got back into that breaker block and rejected down, and as it was moving down, and so I took this trade, and I'll show you my trades in a minute, but as price was moving down again, I said, well guys, I've got a feeling that price is being greedy, and it's going to want to run deeper into a lower order block. So I noted out 2 order blocks. This is my primary entry order block, right? And this is the second entry order block, which forms off of this one. So this is almost seen as a propulsion block, right? So if it wants to dip below the propulsion block into the historic order block which it formed, that's what I thought it would do to pick up more longs, right? So if we drop back into the 5 minute, we can see that price rallied down back into the original order block, right? The order block that I've marked, and there was a fair value gap here on the 15 minute, which for me was busy, so it was balanced price, right? So I didn't want to see it break below that. So that's what I mentioned in commentary live, and we took this trade here and we ran it back up to the breaker block, okay? I wanted to see continuation. I wanted to see us run into the 30s, but price decided to be weak and moved back down. And what was it targeting? It was obviously targeting that new weekly opening gap, right? So let me just bring in my trades quickly just so you guys can see it. So you can see them here. So you can see them here. So I got in down here at 406, out at 417, back in at 402 and 406, and out at 412 and 408, right? So all in all, not a bad trade at all, and very happy with that, considering it was FOMC, literally bottom ticks and top ticks, both of those ranges. So let's just break down. So that's the three drives pattern, right? So that's the three drives pattern, right? So let's talk about this breaker block, right? Let's talk about this breaker block. So a breaker block is when you have a low, a high, a lower low which sweeps the sell side, and then a break of the top green candle, right? And I've got an ICT series on breaker blocks, and I'll link a card up here so you guys can watch that, and I'll also put the video at the end so you can look at breaker blocks in more detail. But if we're looking at the PD hierarchy, and you guys should look at that, if price breaks above this breaker, this will then be looked at as quote-unquote support. So we're looking for price to show that it has signs that it wants to break above this, right? However, we see here that it is not wanting to break it, right? We can see that it gets above and keeps falling back. So this is what was giving me the bias that prices was not wanting to break higher, and it was going to run the lows, because you could see every time it tried to break out of this breaker block, it crashed, right? So that is how I was forming my bias that we were weak. We also, and this gets a little bit more technical, but if we look at price in a wider context, right? We're looking at sell side and buy side of the move, right? We're looking at how it looks on a wider time frame to see what price is wanting to do. So you can see here, but this is the sell side of the curve, right? This is the sell side of the curve. And what we know is we had consolidation, expansion to the sell side, reaccumulation before a further leg down. We then had consolidation before manipulation and dumping it down. What am I expecting? I'm expecting us to then go into the buy side of the curve later in this week, right? But if we just go back in today's price action quickly, this is reaccumulation. So what I was looking for was price to fall back into this reaccumulation before heading down, right? It was picking up even more shorts to go low. So this is why being able to look at where we are in a wider context is important, right? So if you just bear with me 1 second, I just want to pull in something which I find really, really useful. And I was going through this today live in the Discord, right? So this, and that's the Discord in the background, so this is really important to know, and it's the PD hierarchy, right? It's the PD array hierarchy, both bearish and bullish. And so these are the levels that price is going to have to break through in order to target a new high, right? So if we're at a breaker, the next is liquidity void. Then after liquidity void is a fair value gap, then a bearish order block, then a rejection block, then an old high and an old low, right? So if we just put this to one side for a second, and I'll bring it back. So the first thing that's on that list, right? And we're going to take this piece of price action for a start. So this starts at 9:35, right? And this is the open. And so I know ICT was calling 224, but you guys can come into our Discord and you can also see my Twitter where I actually went short. I went against the GOAT today, right? Even though he's been called it, I went against him, right? So my reason being was this. Price is before it can take an old high, it has to get through the rejection block, right? Let's look at this. Before it gets to the old high, it has to it has to go beyond the rejection block, right? My sentiment was always bearish because I wanted us to run into a deeper discount in the range before running higher. So I was looking at this consolidation, which I mentioned to you earlier, and we also had this previous level of resistance. Price didn't want to break above this, right? So I talk about this in my Discord as well. I've got a special name for this. I'm not going to say it in this specific video, but this is a model in itself, right? So I'm looking at this piece of price action, and I don't believe that price is going to run it. So if this, for me, then this high, right, this candle at 740 is now protecting the high. It's protecting those highs over there, right? So this rejection block, and it is a rejection block because it wicks through the previous period of pool of liquidity, right? All of the liquidity that sat above here, and it rejected. So this is a rejection block. And again, I've done a video on rejection blocks in my ICT series, so you guys are more than welcome to go and view that. So I was saying to the guys in my Discord, when it tries to get back up to this rejection block, I'm going to short it. And I shorted it, and this was off the open, and I took 10 handles off the open, right? And if you don't believe me, come into my Discord and you can see my live trades, right? So knowing where you are in the PD array is hugely important. It's hugely important, right? It really is. And so once we've seen that price is unable to get through the breaker block, right? Once we've seen it's unable to get through the breaker block, where are we going to be running to? It's going to go back through this order, right, and run back down to a discount. So then we're looking at bearish order blocks, fair value gaps, liquidity voids, bearish order blocks, mitigation blocks, right? So once we got through, and this is the 9:30, right? Once we got through that rejection block, we were looking at the order block and then the rejection block and then old lows, right? So at the open, right, we had this bearish order block and we had the rejection block, which it failed on the lower time frame and it couldn't take the high. So we're going back through the model. So it's a bearish order block, right? Bearish order block. Sorry. And then a fair value gap. And there's no clear fair value gaps. Liquidity. And then a rejection block and old low. So the rejection block was here on the hourly, right? And so price ran through the rejection block. So what's the only thing that's left? It's the old low. So that's how we can frame and that's how we can stay in longer trades, right? That's how we can start framing our positions and start framing our exits, right? We look at where, so if we got in here at the rejection block, we're looking at where's the nearest bearish order block. That's a likely draw, right? And in this instance, we had an order block here. So this is where price was running away from. We were below the bearish order block. We had a fair value gap. This is the fair value gap it dipped into. But below the fair value gap, we have a liquidity void. That's this run here. What's it want to do? It wants to fill this in, right? And then below that, we have a rejection block, right? The rejection block's on the hourly, okay, up here. And then below that, it's the old low. So that is where we would be taking our partials, right? So that's gonna sum up today's session, right? The real idea of today was to get out of this, was to understand this three drives pattern, right? It's something honestly I've spent so much time studying and backtesting that I know this setup to a T, and yeah, I absolutely love it, and I've coined it, and I trade it every time I see it, right? So, and then just knowing where you are on the PD array, PD array matrix, right? And then that will help you in order to frame your trades, both bullish and bearish. So that's going to be it for me today. If you found this useful and insightful, please consider smashing a like and subscribe. And as always, feel free to jump into our Discord. And until next time, trade safe and take care. Cheers now.